The restaurant industry in America is unraveling before our very eyes, and 2025 might be the year some of the biggest names in the business go under. Once safe havens for family dinners, birthdays, and Friday night hangouts, these restaurant giants are now crumbling under the weight of debt, poor management, and outdated ways of doing business. And it's not just the mom-and-pop diners feeling the pain. Major chains you grew up with are fighting for survival. Picture this. Pizza empires losing more cash than they can flip dough, seafood heavyweights sinking faster than a ship with no lifeboats, and legacy brands that defined your childhood skating on the thinnest ice imaginable. It's not just troubling, it's shocking. The cracks are everywhere. Rising food costs are turning dining out into a luxury that fewer of us can afford, and corporations that were once untouchable are being crushed by the pressure. These companies don't have long to turn it around, and guess what? Some might not make it at all. This is a wake-up call you don't want to miss. Stick with us as we break down 15 big restaurant chains that are facing a brutal fight for survival. What's coming is nothing short of jaw-dropping. 15. Fuddruckers. Fuddruckers, the self-proclaimed home of the world's greatest hamburgers, is hanging on by a thread. Once a titan of the burger world, known for its build-your-own-burger concept and iconic condiment bars, this chain has all but vanished. At its peak, Fuddruckers operated over 500 bustling locations. Today, that number has plummeted to fewer than 30, and even those are sinking under mounting financial pressure. The brand's struggles are no secret. Rising beef prices have pushed operating costs through the roof, while a lukewarm response from customers has slowed revenue to a crawl. And let's not forget the drop in quality. A staggering blow for a chain that built its reputation on superior burgers. Once devoted customers have voiced disappointment with food that no longer lives up to what they remember, leaving Fuddruckers trailing behind newer, trendier competitors like Shake Shack and Five Guys, but perhaps the biggest nail in the coffin has been its failure to adapt to the modern dining landscape. With delivery and online orders becoming the norm, Fuddruckers has been left in the dust. Earlier this year, the company announced ambitious expansion plans in a desperate bid to stay in the game, but analysts aren't convinced. The market is saturated with gourmet burger options, making it nearly impossible for Fuddruckers to stand out. Without a clear strategy, the chain could find itself in the history books sooner rather than later. 14. Denny's. Once the iconic 24-hour diner, Denny's is finding it harder than ever to keep its doors open, and time is running out fast. Known as the place for pancakes at midnight and post-bar hangouts, this household name is buckling under the weight of rising costs, poor staffing, and declining foot traffic. The most shocking evidence of Denny's downfall came earlier this year when a viral video showed a group of hungry customers stepping into the kitchen of an understaffed Texas location to cook their own food. That moment was more than just a meme. It was a symbol of the brand's critical staffing shortages and its inability to deliver on its most basic promise. Franchisees are struggling to hire and retain employees, and operational costs are eating up what little profits remain. On top of that, lawsuits centered on food safety violations and claims of poor working conditions are tarnishing the brand's reputation further. And if that wasn't enough, inflation has backed Denny's into a corner. While it was once praised for its budget-friendly menu, the chain has been forced to raise prices, driving away its core base of value-conscious customers. Add to that ongoing clashes between franchise owners and corporate leadership over expensive tech updates and renovations, and the future looks even bleaker. Experts warn that without a massive overhaul, Denny's could be forced to shutter dozens more locations in 2025, possibly even hundreds. 13. Ruby Tuesday. Ruby Tuesday's fall from grace has been slow but relentless, and the numbers speak for themselves. Once a heavy hitter in the casual dining scene with over 700 locations, the chain now makes do with just 200, a decline so steep it's hard to believe the company still exists in many states. The turning point for Ruby Tuesday came in 2021 when it filed for bankruptcy in an effort to stay afloat. While that gave it a temporary lifeline, the cracks in its business model only widened. Even today, the chain continues to face low sales, prompting more closures across major states like Texas, Connecticut, and Wisconsin this past year alone. And the question everyone's asking, will there be anything left of Ruby Tuesday by 2025? The chain's biggest issue is its reliance on sit-down dining, a format that's been rapidly losing steam in a post-pandemic world. Delivery and takeout options dominate consumer behaviors now, and Ruby Tuesday has failed to adapt. Meanwhile, competitors with stronger branding and updated strategies have swooped in and taken over its market share. With its outdated image, stale marketing and lack of bold moves to modernize, Ruby Tuesday feels stuck in the past. Unless the company makes some drastic changes, its future is hanging by the flimsiest of threads. 12. Panera Bread. Panera Bread, a darling of the fast casual revolution, is now navigating choppy waters that threaten to sink the brand for good. Once praised for its clean eating promise and elevated menu, Panera is now struggling against a flood of competitors who offer similar quality at lower prices. The chain's business model is collapsing under the weight of its own premium pricing. Rising costs of wheat and dairy have thrown their profit margins off balance, forcing steep menu price hikes that many customers just aren't willing to pay. What's worse, Panera's attempts to innovate and modernize have been a double-edged sword. Franchisees have been asked to invest heavily in new technology, think digital kiosks and drive-through redesigns, but insiders report that these upgrades are draining resources without delivering meaningful returns. But perhaps most alarming is the declining customer experience. Longtime fans are noticing a dip in food quality from soups that no longer taste fresh to salads that seem a far cry from Panera's old standards. Meanwhile, the company's workforce is in turmoil. Employees in key locations are overwhelmed by long hours and system inefficiencies, and turnover is rising fast. Unless Panera can realign its operations and reclaim its loyal customer base, the once-beloved chain could be in for a very rough year ahead. 11. Red Lobster. Red Lobster, the go-to seafood chain for countless celebrations and date nights, is struggling to keep its head above water. The chain's problems are mounting so fast that even its legendary Cheddar Bay biscuits may not be enough to save it. For a seafood brand, rising costs in the industry are catastrophic. Climate change and dwindling fish stocks have driven up prices, turning Red Lobster's key menu items into financial sinkholes. Deals like Endless Shrimp and Ultimate Feast are no longer crowd pleasers. They're budget-busting liabilities that have left locations scraping to break even. Some franchise owners have already responded by quietly shutting down underperforming restaurants. But it's not just the numbers that are dragging the chain down. Customer trust is eroding, and Red Lobster is starting to lose its once untouchable reputation. Many diners now complain of overpriced meals and rely too heavily on frozen ingredients, giving the impression that the fresh-from-the-sea charm is long gone. Industry experts agree that Red Lobster needs a major pivot, whether that's a menu overhaul, a focus on sustainable practices, or a massive rebrand. Without bold action, 2025 could be the year Red Lobster's ship sinks for good. 10. Chili's. Chili's, known for its sizzling fajitas and addictive margaritas, is facing a meltdown that could spell doom for the chain. Once a magnet for casual diners looking for hearty Tex-Mex meals, it's now battling shrinking foot traffic as inflation forces customers to rethink dining out. Reports indicate that several underperforming locations in the Midwest and Southeast have already shut their doors, a harsh reminder that Chili's isn't the unstoppable force it used to be. One of its most controversial moves has been the adoption of robot servers and digital-only menus. While this technology aims to streamline operations, many older and less tech-savvy customers feel left out. Their frustration is adding to the brand's difficulties, and it's a gamble that doesn't seem to be paying off. Frustrations are also mounting among franchisees, who are fed up with corporate demands for higher fees while their profits continue to dwindle. The intense competition only makes things worse. Rivals like Chipotle and BJ's Brewhouse are stealing Chili's thunder with fresher, trendier offerings. Chili's feels stuck in a culinary limbo, too old-fashioned for younger crowds and too experimental for its loyal base. If Chili's can't find a winning formula soon, 2025 could be its breaking point in the relentless restaurant industry. 9. Outback Steakhouse. Outback Steakhouse, famous for its bloomin' onion and hearty steaks, might see its own curtain call by 2025. This once-thriving brand has become a shadow of its former self, losing customers and revenue at a rate that has analysts worried. Rising beef prices are wreaking havoc on Outback's bottom line, and staffing shortages? They've resulted in longer wait times and spotty service, leaving loyal customers disappointed. Adding to the chaos, the brand's misguided attempt to incorporate plant-based menu items has backfired. Instead of attracting new customers, Outback alienated its core audience of meat lovers, many of whom see this pivot as abandoning the chain's identity. This isn't just about food. Outback's Aussie-themed marketing, once a quirky and lovable hook, now feels outdated compared to the sleek branding of competitors. Younger diners just aren't connecting with the vibe, flocking instead to hipper spots that emphasize quality and sustainability. Meanwhile, franchise owners are under immense pressure to keep up with costly corporate-mandated upgrades, like expanded seating areas and new equipment. The returns on these investments have been underwhelming to say the least. If Outback doesn't find a way to reconnect with its customer base, its extinction could be closer than anyone expected. 8. Subway. Subway, the global sandwich juggernaut, is watching its empire crumble as its once dominant position in the fast food world continues to slip away. The chain's problems go far beyond lackluster subs. It's a total systemic collapse. Years of negative press, ranging from fake ingredients to high-profile controversies, have left a sour taste in consumers' mouths. Competitors like Jersey Mike's and Jimmy John's, who offer fresher and more appealing options, are taking larger bites out of Subway's market share every year. Even a recent push to rebrand itself with higher-quality ingredients has failed to turn things around. Customers are skeptical, and you can't blame them. Franchise owners are also at their wits' end, forced to comply with expensive renovation mandates that just aren't yielding the intended benefits. Many franchises are finding it impossible to stay afloat, with closures popping up nationwide. And if that wasn't bad enough, Subway's reputation has been hit hard by recurring health violations and scathing reviews about dirty locations and underwhelming service. What was once Subway's greatest strength, its sprawling network of stores, has become a liability. If the company doesn't orchestrate a dramatic turnaround soon, expect to see even more locations shuttered permanently in 2025. 7. TGI Fridays. TGI Fridays, once synonymous with booming energy, bottomless appetizers, and good times, is now in freefall. Once a casual dining giant, it's finding itself grossly out of step with today's restaurant trends, leaving its future looking bleak. Dinosaurs might have done better surviving a meteor than TGI Fridays surviving the shift in consumer preferences. Modern diners are gravitating toward restaurants with farm-to-table menus and intimate ambiances, two things Fridays simply doesn't offer. While its endless apps promotion once brought in crowds, rising inflation has made them much harder to maintain profitably. Reports show sharp sales declines at multiple locations, with some seeing revenue drops as steep as 25% year-over-year. TGI Fridays' pivot to delivery and takeout during the COVID-19 pandemic was too little, too late. Delivery customers complain of soggy wings and lukewarm entrees instead of the quality they expect, tarnishing the brand further. And younger diners? They see Fridays as a relic of the 2000s, irrelevant in a world dominated by food trucks, boutique eateries, and social media-savvy brands. Without a bold reinvention of its menu and vibe, TGI Fridays is barreling toward an uncertain future. 6. Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut was once America's go-to pizza chain, a household name with flourishing dine-in restaurants and reliable delivery service. But as we approach 2025, the chain is in a tailspin that threatens to bring its dominance to an end. The rise of competitors like Domino's and Papa John's has dealt Pizza Hut several crushing blows. Domino's in particular has outpaced Pizza Hut with an aggressive focus on speedy delivery and innovative marketing. Meanwhile, Pizza Hut is still trapped in its outdated ways, struggling to stay relevant in today's fast-paced market. What about the iconic dine-in model that defined its identity? It's now more a liability than an asset. With more families opting for takeout or delivery, those once bustling dining rooms have become empty relics of a bygone era. On the operational side, franchisees are abandoning their locations in large numbers, fed up with unmanageable costs and an overwhelming lack of support from higher-ups. To make matters worse, customer satisfaction is in freefall. Complaints about slow delivery times, inconsistent food quality, and underwhelming service are growing louder. Pizza Hut simply isn't keeping up. Experts believe 2025 will be a do-or-die year for the brand. Without a stunning reinvention, this pizza powerhouse might be permanently taken off the menu. 5. Little Caesars Pizza. Little Caesars Pizza, the NFL's official pizza partner, is on the brink of disaster. Franchisees earn just 90 cents in profit for every $5 in sales. Opening a franchise costs over $1 million, but annual earnings are low. Ingredient costs, especially cheese, are skyrocketing. Competitors like Domino's and Pizza Hut are capturing more market share. Many locations are closing down, and franchisee dissatisfaction is high. Without serious changes, Little Caesars could disappear by 2025. 4. Joe's Crab Shack. Joe's Crab Shack was once the go-to spot for family seafood dinners, with its playful atmosphere and piled-high crab platters. But today, Things are looking seriously bleak for this beloved chain. It's rapidly sinking like a ship with no rescue in sight. The numbers speak for themselves. Back in its heyday, Joe's everyone-loved vibe secured its place as a leader in casual seafood dining. Now, there are only 40 locations spread thinly across 16 states. That's a massive drop from the brand's prime. And if that's not bad enough, 2 major flagship locations suffered devastating fires just this year. Here's the kicker. The insurance payouts for the damages reportedly aren't even close to covering rebuilding costs. The challenges don't stop there. Joe's financial history reads like a disaster novel. The company has declared bankruptcy not once but twice over the last 2 decades. Many longtime fans have also jumped ship, complaining about skyrocketing prices and food that just doesn't taste the same. A once charming concept has deteriorated into what some describe as overpriced mediocrity. And then there's inflation. It's hitting Joe's where it hurts the most: the cost of seafood. Crabs, shrimp, and lobster have become luxuries for many, making it harder for Joe's middle-class customer base to justify dining out. Management's constant turnover and ongoing disputes with landlords have resulted in more closures across key markets. The chain's leadership has been unable to turn the tide, and time is running out. With crises piling up, industry experts believe Joe's could be heading toward its third and likely final bankruptcy before 2025 arrives. 3. Applebee's. Applebee's used to be the heartbeat of the neighborhood dining scene, but now it's struggling to keep its doors open. Once synonymous with casual comfort food, the chain is on a fast track to irrelevance. Steep costs, shifting preferences, and an identity crisis are to blame. Millennials and Gen Z want fresh, diverse, and health-conscious options. Applebee's hasn't kept up. Competitors are innovating, but Applebee's is stuck. Inflation has ramped up ingredient costs, forcing Applebee's to raise prices. Higher prices don't sit well with their core audience, middle-class families. Closing underperforming locations has hurt their neighborhood-friendly reputation. Corporate is scrambling, but critics argue it's too little, too late. The brand's identity crisis runs deep. With fewer diners and financial stress mounting, Applebee's could be approaching the point of no return. If things don't change, 2025 might mark the end of their story. 2. Burger King. Burger King might still call itself the king of fast food, but the truth is the empire is crumbling fast. Once one of the top contenders in the burger world, the chain is now a shadow of its former glory. The competition is fiercer than ever, and Burger King, it just can't keep up. Franchisees are struggling, badly. Rising beef and potato prices are taking a giant bite out of profits, while endless promotional deals like their infamous 2 for $5 menu seem to be backfiring. Those deals are great at pulling in bargain hunters, but here's the problem. They're not sticking around for full-priced meals. The result? Franchise owners are left with razor-thin profit margins and no sustainable growth. To make matters worse, younger audiences are steering clear of the brand. Burger King's marketing campaigns feel outdated and out of touch, leaving Gen Z and millennials unimpressed. And then there's the issue of quality. Multiple locations have been forced to close due to health violations and operational costs spiraling out of control. It's a PR nightmare that's only making things worse. And the trouble doesn't stop there. Franchisees are reportedly furious with corporate leadership over a lack of strategic direction. The toll on morale is staggering, with many insiders claiming the company is in complete disarray. Without drastic action and a serious long-term strategy, Burger King risks losing its crown for good, and sooner than anyone might expect. Some experts are even predicting 2025 could bring mass closures, or worse, if the chain doesn't change course immediately. 1. IHOP. If there's one chain we didn't expect to be in serious trouble, it's IHOP. Known for hearty breakfasts, IHOP feels like it's always been part of our lives. Yet the chain is in serious trouble. Its future could be at risk by 2025. Fewer customers are coming through the doors. Competitors like Waffle House and Cracker Barrel have loyal fan bases. IHOP struggles to fit in today's competitive dining landscape. Franchisees are frustrated with corporate management. They're paying for expensive remodels while barely breaking even. Rising ingredient costs add to the financial stress. Customers notice a decline in food quality. Social media is full of complaints about rubbery pancakes and soggy waffles. Endless coupons have cheapened the brand and driven profits lower. If IHOP can't revamp its menu and reconnect with diners, 2025 might mark the end. The clock is ticking for this breakfast icon. Will they make it, or will the house of pancakes crumble for good?